Hello guys, good morning everybody. Welcome to our YouTube channel. I hope I am audible to you. If I am audible, just let me know. Yes, quickly tell me whether I am audible or not. Hanji guys, those who are live with us, just quickly tell me whether I am audible or not. Is the voice going through? Audible. Okay. Thank you, Pooja. Right. So we're gonna begin our session, right? So आज हमारा session we have been delayed by 1 hour, but that's not problem for, let's say it shall not be a problem for us. We are ready to kickstart our session. As you can see, the first news that we have today is, it is very important, that is related to now drones to monitor progress, quality of assets produced at MGNREGA work sites. Now this particular news is related to MGNREGA scheme and the work that are being carried out at the MGNREGA sites. So let's try to discuss this whole issue of MGNREGA. What is the new guidelines that have been put in the place and what are the various things that we need to know about the MGNREGA scheme. So let's try to discuss. Now first of all, when I talk about MGNREGA scheme, its full form is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Employment Guarantee Act. Now one of the things that we have to understand is this particular scheme works where it works in the rural areas. Now this is one of the most important point that we need to understand. So this particular scheme is related to what? It is related to, as you can see over here, it is related to providing employment in the rural areas. And second thing that we need to understand is this scheme was launched in the year 2005. Launched in the year 2005. So this is the second most important fact that we guys need to understand, that first of all it is related to employment in the rural areas, and second thing that it was launched in the year 2005. Now the third important thing that is a highlight of this particular MGNREGA scheme is that it provides 100 days of wage employment. Very important. 100 days of wage employment. So basically it guarantees 100 days of wage employment. But one of the things that you need to understand is that this particularly work that would be done by the people who are, let's say, not able to find any work in the rural area. So they can come and get the work under this MGNREGA scheme for the period of 100 days. But the work that they would be doing in this particular MGNREGA schemes would be unskilled work. This work would be of type what? It would be an unskilled work. So this is the main thing that you need to know about this MGNREGA scheme. But sadly, we have seen that there have been a lot of issues that have been popping up out of this MGNREGA scheme. There are a lot of loopholes that are there under what? Under the MGNREGA scheme. Let's try to look at those particular loopholes. So first of all, what are the issues that we have this MGNREGA scheme? Pehli baat, now there have been certain deductions in the budget if we talk about towards the allocation of MGNREGA scheme. So one thing I can write it down over here. The first issue is reduction in budget allocation. First of all, this thing that we need to understand कि थोड़ा सा budget की अगर हम अंदर बात करते हैं, there have been a slight reduction in the allocation. Second, funds are not released on time. Funds are not released on time. Third thing, third problem that I can highlight over is the workers or the people who have been, let's say, provided certain services for certain time period are not getting their wages on time. Workers are not getting their wages on time. So this is also one of the serious issue that has come up with this particular, if we talk about MGNREGA scheme. Plus, fourth thing that we need to understand is because it is a very we can say lucrative scheme in the rural area, that is a demand driven scheme, it is basically breeding the chances of corruption as well. So these are the major loopholes that we can highlight with this particular Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. One of the things that we need to understand is, might be there could be certain persons who hasn't done any work at the ongoing sites, let's say any MGNREGA work site. Now what could be the things that could be done under MGNREGA work site? Let's try to focus the things that could be done, let's say in comparison to or in let's say in context of MGNREGA. क्या क्या काम किए जा सकते हैं? पहला, you can construct a, let's say, well, you can construct a road, right? You can, let's say, dig up particular area. So these are the works that are basically granted to people who work under MGNREGA. But what we have seen over here, that there are very much bigger chances of corruption that prevail at these various work sites. Might be a person is not attended or has not worked but is getting the wages, but there could be a possibility that person has done the labor but he is not getting the enough wages. So as a result, there was a lot of issues if we can highlight about this MGNREGA. So what the government did last year, it is very, very important to understand. They introduced a particular geotagging mechanism, very important. Those who have been following the news, they would be able to understand it. Last year government, I can write it over here or next page, remedies के अंदर लिख सकते हैं हम. Last year what the government did was, last year government introduced NMMS. This is a mechanism of geotagging of people or workers, geotagging of workers who are working at the sites, at work sites. So this particular, if I talk about the full form, this is the National Mobile Monitoring Software. Now one of the things that we have to understand is that earlier, if we talk about the scheme when it was started, there was to be a physical attendance or a physical cluster rules. Then the attendance was made, let's say on an we can say on a digital platform. Now what this particular National Mobile Monitoring Software wanted to achieve was that there should be attendance of the workers in a day, that is there shall be attendance 2 times in a day of the workers who are working in the MGNREGA work site. Now this created a lot of problem, because there are a lot of people who work, let's say, for the early part and then they go for another jobs, right? So this is a thing that you're gonna understand. This is very, very important. Plus there could be certain women who are basically, let's say, that are mostly employed in this MGNREGA, who are doing the work at MGNREGA worksite as well, but after doing their bits, after doing their part, they are going home and they are taking care of their family, providing them food, right, etc. and etc., taking let's say taking the responsibility of the household. But now the woman had a very major issue with this particular National Mobile Monitoring Software, because the wages could be given to the wage let's say people who have worked only if their attendance has been marked 2 times in a day, that too geotagged. Now this particular software or provision created a lot of problem for the MGNREGA workers. This is the point that we need to understand. I will write the full form as well. National Mobile Monitoring Software. So this created a lot of problem. This is the point that we need to understand in context of MGNREGA. And one thing I need to tell you, this is a very, very important topic. At MGNREGA work sites, there have been a lot of participation of women at the MGNREGA work sites. When you introduce certain kind of schemes like National Mobile Monitoring Software, what does it do? It basically creates a burden on the women that they have to be present 2 times in order to, let's say, receive their daily wages. But what if woman has to work for, let's say, in the morning shift and then has to go back and do some another work taking care of its family? So the woman will not then think, then why I would want to be in this particular MGNREGA work sites, right? So one thing you need to understand, that MGNREGA has been a very much important scheme in the economics of the rural areas. First of all, it has provided income to the people, it has provided employment to the people, it has stopped the migration as well. You can say one of the aspects is क्या है इसका, कि भाई माइग्रेशन के चांसेस ज्यादा हो सकते थे अगर लोगों को यहाँ पे एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं दी जाती. तो रूरल से अर्बन माइग्रेशन रोकने के लिए भी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेप रहा है किसका, MGNREGA का. सो आई कैन राइट डाउन द एडवांटेजेस एज वेल इन अ ब्रैकेट और एट साइडलाइंस, दैट इट हैज प्रोवाइडेड इनकम, it has provided the employment, it has stopped the migration as well. So most of the women work in these particular areas, but this national mobile monitoring software was a bit of a problem for the women. But the government had the objective that they don't want a corruption to be in this particular MGNREGA work sites, because whatever they have seen and whatever they have experienced related to the things that have been going on, because the intended beneficiaries have not been getting the required wages. So what the government did was on the part of, let's say, reforming the MGNREGA, but what the result came was not in the favor of the government, because the workers protested against this national mobile monitoring software. Now in the background of this, a new guidelines have been issued by the Ministry of Rural Development. Very important. First of all, we get to know that it is being operated under Ministry of Rural Development. Now they have released certain standard operating procedure guidelines for the MGNREGA work sites. What they are trying to say is there would be now usage of drones for monitoring of work sites. Very important. For monitoring of work sites, there would be usage of drones. This is the most important thing that we guys need to understand. First of all, what will drones do? Pehli cheez, monitor the ongoing project. Let's say examine the completed projects. This is the second thing. Third thing what they can do is they can have the impact assessment as well. And fourth, they can look into the, let's say, complaints, grievances, all the things that would be addressed by this particular drones. Now it is very, very important under the standard operating procedure guidelines for the, let's say, ombudsman who will be monitoring and using these drones in order to make sure that if any complaint is coming, it has to take the suo motu action and it has to dispose of the, let's say, any complaint within 30 days. So this is the thing that we need to know about the new guidelines that have been put in place. Basically, they want to make sure that this particular scheme goes very well, and this particular one thing we need to understand that corruption na ho, because what we have seen in the rural areas, there is a lot of, let's say, role of, we can say, सरपंचों का ज्यादा रोल हो जाता है जहां पे उनकी मनमर्जी चल जाती है, जिसकी वजह से प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकती हैं MGNREGA स्कीम के अंदर. I hope you have got the gist of this particular scheme, when it was announced, when it was started, what are the various things that are there and what are the various issues that are there with MGNREGA. And one of the things that you can write as well, it is a demand driven scheme. This point is very important. These are direct questions that could be asked in the prelims as well. Hanji, I hope this point is clear to everybody. Yes, West Bengal was in news as well, because they were saying that the funds have not been released on time to the states as well, right? So this is the thing that you need to understand, and I hope you have understood this full particular editorial, or we can say news article, right? Okay, moving to the next part. Now we're going to directly go to the editorial page. Okay, now these are the two things that we need to understand, that yesterday we discussed as well, that what the government or Supreme Court, sorry, not the government, what Supreme Court has tried to do is they are trying to change the stereotypes that have been placed in various our society as well as in the courtrooms as well. Because what they think is that we know that men and women both have been subjugated to certain terminology, certain terms that create stereotypes, that create certain prejudice, which is taken forward to our next generation and then to our next generation, and particularly it is demeaning for both men and women. But in this patriarchal society, it is most demeaning for the women in our society, and that needs to be checked as well. So what better than Supreme Court that is taking the charge of this particular situation, and it is trying to make sure that they took an example and they lead by an example and make sure that these types of things are not there in the society. So yesterday we discussed this as well. So what the Supreme Court is saying, that they are trying to make sure that they try to change certain words and certain language, like instead of affair, it will be de rigueur to say a relationship outside of marriage. Similarly, for adulteress, the preferred usage is a woman who has engaged in sexual relations outside of marriage. A host of derogatory and seemingly mild adjectives have been dropped too while referring to women. For instance, it is no longer to mention chaste woman, dutiful wife, housewife, rather with the plain woman, wife and a homemaker will do. So these are the things that have been tried to do by the judiciary in order to make sure the language of the court is changed so that it has a bearing on the society as well. And what better that if we are able to do what, remove this prejudices, because what it tries to achieve, it is basically then trying to make sure that we are at the stage where we are giving liberty to women, we are respecting the women, we are creating a situation where we are creating an equality for all, and that shall be our purpose of our society as well, and that is a part of our good ethics and a good moral society as well. I hope you are able to understand this, right? Okay, moving to the next part. Now this is, I can say, related to a new act that has been passed related to gaps in birth and death registration amendment act. So you need not to go into that much detail in relation to this particular editorial. What you need to understand is one of the 2 points that I am going to explain to you. First of all, if we talk about deaths, births, these are all the matters that are being taken by the states and then they are being overseen by the center. But now there have been a certain changes that have been made in this Birth and Death Registration Amendment Act. So let's try to discuss this in a little, let's say a little detail. ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे, थोड़ी सी डिटेल के अंदर इसको कवर करने की कोशिश करेंगे. देखिए, when I talk about birth and deaths registration, first of all you need to understand that what we are getting through this birth and death registration, ultimately it is the data that we are getting, or the data that is being, let's say, taken to the states. Now this will be the data that will be provided to the states, that how many births are taking place, how many deaths are being taking place, and it would help them in basically doing what? In formulating better policies, better schemes and better programs. So this is the main purpose जिसके लिए अगर हम बात बोलें कि births and deaths को register किया जाता है, right? So this is the main purpose for which this particular data is being collected. Already we had an act in the year 1969, but now this act is now amended in this year with the new amendments. Now these new amendments have certain features that you guys need to understand just for your information point of view. First of all, it tries to create a national level data plus state-wise data. These are the two things that we guys need to understand, that there would be compilation of national level data and a state level data related to what? Related to births and deaths. Who would be the responsible person if I talk about this national level data? Obviously, it would be Registrar General of India. And here it would be the Chief Registrar of the states. So these are the two things that we guys need to understand, that who would be the person responsible for compiling this particular data. At the national level we would have the Registrar General, and at the state level we would having the Chief Registrar. So there would be compilation at national level, at state level, that would help the government frame better policies, better programs and better procedures. Second thing that you need to understand is that here the important thing that they have tried to tell is that whenever a person is died, so let's say it is being issued a death certificate. So on that death certificate, there has to be mandatory cause of death. Very important. This is the amendment that has been introduced, that this shall be specified, that is the cause of the death. So this is the second most important amendment that has taken place. So these are the two important features that we need to know about the recently amended act. But there are certain problems. First of all, you need to understand that not every death that is being, let's say, registered in India or certificate can lead to the actual thing that is the cause of the death. I get this point, that it is very good that we need to know the cause of the death so that we are able to frame better policies, whether people are dying of tuberculosis, heart attack, let's say any cancer diseases. So that would help the government make better policies. But actually it is not up until now that we have been, let's say doctors are able to achieve this, that they are able to tell the cause of the death. बहुत देर हो जाती है, कई बार प्रॉपर स्ट्रीमलाइन प्रोसीजर नहीं होता, जिसकी वजह से ये प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है. Now the second important problem with this whole new amendment is what there would be a separate compilation of national level data, or states data would be compiled and they would be aggregated to form a national level data. So there is a confusion over here whether national authorities will have their separate birth and death registration and states will have their separate, or there would be aggregation of the state data which would be compiled into this national level data. So these are the two major problems that have been highlighted with this new amendment act. This is the thing that we guys need to understand related to birth and death registration, which is very, very important as well in order to make the, if we talk about better policies. I hope this point is clear to everybody, right? Chaliye. Now this is the thing that we have tried to do. Now the third article is, we will not be covering this particular because this is related to data protection. We will not be wasting our time because we have done enough related to this. Now this was a scheme that was announced that we had discussed as well, that was Vishkarma Yojana or Vishkarma scheme with an outlay of how much? 13,000 crore, right? एंड टोटल लोन कितना मिल जाएगा यहाँ पे? पहले 1 लाख का मिलेगा फर्स्ट ट्रेंच में, दूसरे ट्रेंच में कितने का मिल जाएगा? 2 लाख का. तो प्रोविजन क्या था? पहले 1 लाख का था और दूसरा कितने का था? 2 लाख का था. एंड दिस इंटरेस्ट वुड बी और मनी वुड बी गिवन एट अ कंसेशनल इंटरेस्ट रेट ऑफ 5%. Now this was a basic outlay of the scheme that we discussed yesterday as well. That was a Vishkarma scheme, which an outlay of how much? 13,000 crore. How much money would be getting credit support to the artisans and the handicrafts? They would be getting 1 lakh in the first tranche and 2 lakh in the another tranche, and this particular interest rate would be how much? A meager 5%. Now this article is trying to say very important thing. First thing that you need to understand is, yes, artisans are getting the money, they would be using that particular money, the credit support that they have got from the government under the Vishkarma scheme, and they would be making their traditional, let's say, the things that they have been making for the centuries. Yesterday we discussed the Guru Shishya Parampara, or the things that they have inherited from the ancestors or from their family. But the problem is not with the getting the credit support. Problem is when they are making the products, when they have made their final product, whether they would get the market, whether they would have access to the market so that they can sell their products. This is the most important thing that we guys need to understand. It is okay to give them the lending hand for the credit, but you need to support them as well in order to make sure that their hand is being taken and they are getting the market access as well, so that they are able to sell their products as well. So ultimately it has come down to this particular point, that scheme is okay, but this thing has to be understood that they need to be given the market access as well, so that they are able to sell their products as well. अगर वो अपने products को sell कर पाएंगे तभी उसका फायदा होगा. So this is the scheme that you guys need to understand. Plus it had the provision for the skill training program as well, where a stipend of 500 rupees would be given for the skill training related to these particular artisan craft. आई होप दिस पॉइंट इज क्लियर टू एवरीबडी. तो ये कल की न्यूज इंपॉर्टेंट है और ये कंटिन्यूड हो रही है. इसका मतलब ये स्कीम बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है. इंडिपेंडेंस डे वाले दिन थोड़ा सा इसका बताया गया था, विश्वकर्मा scheme. So don't forget about this scheme. This is a proper important news that is highlighted right now, and it could come in the exams as well. Plus you can mention these type of schemes in your answers as well when you are writing an answer related to skill development, whether you are asking, let's say, writing an answer related to anything related to handicraft industry, traditional textile and let's say village industries, cottage industries. So these are the things that you need to mention. Profit is important. Yes, you can say profit is also important. You need to get the market access. That is the ultimate thing that we guys need to have. If I am teaching, I need to have the market access. Well, na? If there are no students, what's the purpose of teaching then? So similarly is the thing for the people who are making the products. There has to be a market for the things that they are trying to sell in the market, right? Okay. Moving to the next part. So this is all the things that we have already told you. This IPC Criminal Procedure Code, it is on the public draft. They are asking for the comments. You can go and comment, but try to see what are the various things, because when it will be introduced in the bill form again, then we will try to discuss what are the various things that they have tried to change. One of the things that I want to tell you is that they have now said it is the right to handcuff a person. Earlier it was not okay to handcuff a person. I think it was there in the judgment of DK Basu कि आप handcuff नहीं कर सकते हो, पर यहाँ पे बोला गया handcuff करना है. दूसरी चीज, डिटेंशन पहले अगर हम बात करें 60 डेज की थी, अब इन्होंने कितने दिन की कर दी है? 90 दिनों की. सो दे हैव ट्राइड टू रिफॉर्म सर्टेन लॉस, कीप सर्टेन थिंग्स ऑफ द पास्ट एज वेल, एंड दे हैव ब्रॉट इन विद द न्यू थिंग. सो द डिबेट इज वेदर इट इज राइट और रॉन्ग, बट व्हेन द फाइनल एक्ट विल कम, देन वी विल ओनली बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, राइट? ओके, मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. यहां पे कुछ आज इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं आया है. आई होप मेरे को लग नहीं रहा कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट है। हाँ जी, बस एक चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है, यहां पे ध्यान से देखिए, a flood forecast app launched by water commission. Now these are the type of MCQs that come directly in the exams, right? Fakiresh, I can't be so much specific about IPC. I haven't studied law, right? So I can't be like IPC 354. Google कर लो यार, ठीक है? अब इतना मुझे याद नहीं, 302 वगैरह पूछ लो तो वो बता देता मैं, ठीक है? 354 मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा, 153 शायद सेडिशन से थी, राइट? ओके, नाउ सेंट्रल वाटर कमीशन, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, हैज लॉन्च एन ऐप कॉल्ड फ्लड वॉच विच कैन फॉरकास्ट द चांसेस ऑफ फ्लड्स अ डे इन एडवांस, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। अब यहां पे दो चीजें हैं जो आपको समझनी चाहिए, एक होती है फ्लड फोरकास्ट और एक होती है फ्लड एडवाइजरी। दो चीजें ध्यान से याद रखना, देयर इज फ्लड फोरकास्ट that could be given a day before, that is before 24 days, and flood advisory up to 7 days, very important, and this is particularly through an app. You can check it out. The name of the app is Flood Watch and it is available on the Google Play Store, right? So यहाँ पे बता रखा है कि अगर ग्रीन सर्कल आएगा ऐप में तो मतलब नॉर्मल है, येलो अबव नॉर्मल, ऑरेंज severe and red extreme. Clicking on a circle shows the water level at the station, the danger level and the warning level. The warnings are in English or in Hindi with an option for voice enabled prompt. So this is a very, very good thing that is basically there, and you can say this is a particular thing in the terms of adaptation to floods, or you can say adaptation to climate change. So these are the type of examples that you need to mention in your answer whenever, let's say, there is a question on the environmental aspect where you have to talk about the recent things that have been done in order to make sure we are able to adapt or reduce the impact as well, right, of floods as well. So this would be very much handful that has been created by this particular Central Water Commission. They have launched an app by the name of Flood Watch, very important, right? So these are the things that you have to mention absolutely in your answers, and you cannot miss them at any stage or at any point, right guys? Okay, so I think this is it for today. There's nothing important over here if I talk about in the economics page, and these are all the things that are going on. One of the things that you need to understand is that there are certain problems going in the region of Niger. I think यहाँ पे इन्होंने mention नहीं कर रखा, but Niger में problem चल रही है country में, and there are a lot of problems. So try to see the map of Niger. It is very, very important. This is the area that could be asked in the exam as well, because there are people who have been stranded in the area of Niger, and there has been no evacuation efforts that have been going on in order to evacuate the people from Niger. That is a country of Africa that is seeing a political turmoil. So what we can say is the people must be brought back to India safely. If I talk about, I think there are almost about 300 Indians that are stranded over there, right guys? I hope you were able to understand the newspaper. That's it guys from my side. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Can you tell me the date for today? Today is 19th, right? $18th. Okay, thank you so much. चलिए, थैंक यू गाइस। सुब्रता, मैं तो चेक कर रहा था पर तुम भी 19th कह रहे हो, 18th है यार, ऐसे मत करो, ठीक है? हाँ हाँ, ठीक है गाइस, थैंक यू सो मच, टेक केयर, बाय बाय, एंड वी विल सी ईच अदर टुमारो। Sorry Puneet, it is not on the YouTube. You have to enroll. If you want to enroll, you can connect to our, let's say, admin team, and they will let you know what are the things. आप एक बार कॉल कर लीजिए अगर आपको कोई भी चीज़ जाननी है उसके बारे में. They would help you out, right? And trust me, it is one of the easy optionals and short one as well. Okay, thank you so much.